The news of the hour, the name of the hour is Tyler Herro. After a long standoff, we knew if Tyler is going to get a contract extension, it would have been right around when training camp is starting. And once you know it, Tyler Herro gets a 4-year, $120 million extension with $10 million add on to that in incentives. And let me tell you, Brandon, I think the Miami Heat just dug themselves into a massive hole. When you look at the money they hand out last season, last offseason, Duncan Robinson, 4 years, $64 million. Kyle Lowry, 2 years, $58 million. The great addition, PJ Tucker, opted out of his player option and left to go to a opposing contender in Philadelphia. The Heat got worse this summer by not replacing PJ with a Jay Crowder, at least not yet. And when I look at this Tyler Herro extension, I want to get your reaction as a Heat fan. But ultimately, this is not great, and it was kind of you couldn't really win here, no matter what was the case.
Yeah, we were pretty handcuffed in this situation. Nothing much we could do. Like I've talked about previously, it was coming down to the wire. Either you got to trade him now, which I don't think you're going to get much for, and what is there out there that you can get for him, or you got to keep him. And if you keep him, you have to sign him to the extension because you're just going to lose him at the end of the offseason for nothing, and nobody wins there
Yeah, he's not
except for
gonna.
Tyler Hero. Yeah. Um. So my opinion of this is we had really no other choice.
You can't trade him now.
For yeah, for how long? Well,
Well, you can,
what you
but the
can, but
you
how
poison
much?
pilled
What if?
him.
Yeah,
So for
yeah,
opposing teams,
yeah.
when I'm looking at Tyler Hero making $5 million, it's pretty good. There's the fear I'm gonna have to eventually pay this guy upwards of $30 million a max deal. But for the Heat, the unique part was, look, we have the reigning six man of the year coming out of year three, where he's a top 5 or 6 player from his class, and he should only develop as a scorer in certain parts as well. So that was their biggest trade asset because Bam Adebayo is untouchable with his value on the other end of the ball. And now by giving him that deal, you're stuck to a six man of the year that is a high level scorer. But in the last 2 years in the playoffs, whether it's due to injury or him just not being a reliable or credible enough self grader, he's shown, look, he can't fit that void. This team's biggest deficiency is dynamic perimeter creation. And this dude's a bucket. He can get a shot off from mid range, from 3 point, and he's unique, but he's not a main scorer. He's not your go to guy. And when you're paying him $30 million, you're paying him starter money. But he's shown he can't start, and Pat Riley has voiced that he has to earn the starting spot, and he still hasn't, even after having a Lou Williams type effect on this offense, so to speak. And there's so much for him to prove, but at the same time, we know what he is. There's so many limitations for a team that defensively really hangs their hat on being a versatile group that can switch and just send
Yep.
havoc. But as a 6'4" guard that's not very athletic, doesn't have a very high motor, teams are just going to attack him. And when you have Duncan Robinson making $16 million on the books for the next 3 years, there's two guys now, your two most dynamic shot creators that open up the floor for their teammates because Jimmy's going to need space, Bam's going to need space. They really can't play together. And you're committing almost $50 million to those two guys, and their trade value is very low. So
Hmm.
there's no way of really backing out of this puddle, but this puddle could turn into a pothole for a team that has committed to so much money to guys that really aren't big time difference makers.
Yeah. I mean, it all started with the Kyle Lowry move. I knew that was going to handicap us, um, and it did. Uh, yeah, we're slowly getting left behind right now in the race to number one for the East, I should say, and it's very disappointing. Um, I don't see any moves out there that we can make. Uh, so the future is brighter for your Pittsburgh Steelers and you. The future in Miami is a little bit dimmer, and I'm hoping for greener pastures because it's just. I mean, I don't want to be a team that's you know just making the playoffs and being happy we're in the playoffs and getting bounced in the second round. I don't want that. I want to compete for championships. As a fan, I want bragging rights.
That
You
should be the
want that?
goal, right?
Yeah.
Fan. And ultimately, for Pat Riley and the Heat, it feels like their window has completely closed. An Eastern Conference that's massively improved. And you're over here holding up Tyler Hero like, hey, I've got a pretty good young player that ultimately in the playoffs just shows he's a really good six man and a good scorer, but not a great player you want to invest and
Yeah,
go
he
in.
made comments. I don't know if you saw them about like he's a better defender than people think. Um, he was talking about other people around the league. I guess he didn't specify that are getting paid more than him that he knows he's better than.
Yeah, you're
That's kind of like it's you can see that as a little bit of a shot towards Duncan Robinson too, who's on his team,
he's
making more.
talking about John Morant, Luca, and Donovan Mitchell. And the funny thing is, John Morant's the new age Allen Iverson. Luka Doncic is a top six player in the world. Donovan Mitchell has averaged 32 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists in the postseason in the last 3 years, playing
Yeah,
through injuries. Those guys actually
as the
take it to
number
the
one.
highest level as the number one. Tyler Hero hasn't done that. I know you have to have confidence as a player, but objectively, if you're going to take that as fact, you're being tricked by a player that thinks more highly of himself than what he's actually shown at the
Is this
highest
like a
levels.
so what would that be off the top of your head? You said 120 divided by 4 is what?
30 million.
Uh, okay, so it is 30 million. Is this a good deal or is this a bargain deal? Like who
With the
is in his
caps
draft class?
So with the cap spiking in the next couple of years, next 2 years, this is going to be you're paying a guy high level starter to all star money. But with the Heat, they already have this money tied into Kyle and Duncan, and it's like
Yeah.
your best contract is VO for 2 years, 17 million, and you just can't add on more guys that are over. That's I don't like to use the word overpaid because these guys have earned their money and good for Tyler to get his bag. Overcompensated was the type of word I'm looking for there. But his draft class Zion, John Morant, Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole should get more money than him. So is Poole now, when he's trying to negotiate with Golden State, he's going to say, give me what Tyler Hero got and a couple extra bucks. Well, I mean, now the Warriors are getting
Yeah.
screwed over by the Heat, so maybe this was a power play to kind of mess up a team in the other conference you're not going to see in the finals. But the other guys, RJ Barrett, DeAndre Hunter, and
How much did RJ get paid? He was
RJ's was 120, Brunson's was 104, so it's a little bit more than
okay.
RJ, about 10
Okay.
million more in incentive.
Yeah. Um, yeah, as a Miami Heat fan, you know, hope for the best, but it's not looking that good. Like 2 years ago, we were much brighter for like off the finals appearance.
Miami's a
We
first
were
round
looking,
exit, dude.